From drooling over Kai's most recent images, to the actor actually breaking his back while preparing for the role, here's everything you need to know about Charlie Hunnam in Rebel Moon. We've gotten the first proper look since Netflix released that 8-second teaser back in 2023, which showed a spaceship landing, and Djimon Hounsou screaming at the top of his lungs, "For all that you love, show them no mercy." This was followed by random cuts of Hunnam's character Kai and Sofia Boutella's Korra fighting with the bad guys. But newly released images show our hunk as a messy and gritty pilot with an equally cool look on his face, standing in the light pouring in from the shutters behind him. In another shot, he can be seen wearing a hood and pointing a gun at someone, with the most menacing look on his face. It kind of reminds you of DC's Arrow, and I definitely wouldn't want to be on the other side of that gun. Anyways, other than the actor himself, if you look at the color palette of the shots as well as the teaser, it might remind you of Star Wars, but like in a completely new era. Aside from the vibe, Hunnam's character is set to wow all of us when Rebel Moon hits theaters. In the movie, Kai's shown as a pilot who's hell-bent on doing whatever he can to help Korra save her home from being destroyed. And considering how the setting of Rebel Moon is kinda steampunkish, it'll be hard for them to find the proper equipment for traveling or combat, which means that the characters will have to use what's available to them on the planet. But things aren't gonna be that easy. You see, Kai was once a renowned hero, who has long since put his glory days behind him. So before he joins Korra's quest to save her home, she'll have to convince him to join her first, which won't be an easy task at all. But Charlie isn't the only talented person who's joined Rebel Moon. Guess who's directing it? Zack Snyder, of course! This will be the second time that the director will team up with Netflix, after the amazing success of his movie Army of the Dead. And the best part is, Rebel Moon won't be a standalone movie. It'll actually be a two-parter. Now, getting Rebel Moon on the big screen didn't exactly start out smoothly for Snyder. You see, the director's a huge Star Wars fan, and he initially pitched his movie as a more mature take on George Lucas's work. Unfortunately, it all went down the drain when Disney acquired Lucasfilm in 2012. Zack then struck up a deal with his wife, Deborah Snyder's production company, Stone Quarry and Netflix, for Rebel Moon to be reworked into a completely new universe. Considering how well Army of the Dead did and Snyder's epic directing skills, it's safe to say that Rebel Moon is gonna be another banger. But did you know that Zack didn't exactly pitch it as a two-parter in the beginning? That's right. The initial script for the movie was 172 pages, making the final cut a staggering 3 hours long. But Netflix chairman Scott Stuber was worried that the movie was too long, and viewers would refuse to watch it just by looking at the runtime. That's when the director offered to turn it into a two-parter, reducing the time to less than 2 hours. Snyder said that there was no way he could have crammed all that in a 2-hour-long movie, because A, the film would have lost its essence altogether, and B, the audience wouldn't have cared much about the characters either. Looks like the director really wants this film to get the recognition it deserves. All this talk about the movie has me wondering about one thing though. What's it even gonna be about? Well, the story starts out with a peaceful farming colony in a distant galaxy that gets attacked by a ruthless warlord, Regent Belisarius, leader of the Imperium armies. In a desperate attempt to save itself, the colony dispatches a woman with a shady past, aka Korra, on a mission to gather the strongest warriors from all the planets, to help defend her land against the tyranny of the antagonist. But the biggest twist here is that she's a former Imperium soldier. Oh, how the plot thickens. And if her past is that shocking, I wonder what skeletons Kai's hiding in his closet. Now, as action-packed as this movie is, it needs a stellar cast to really hit the nail in the coffin. We obviously have Charlie Hunnam as the mysterious ex-hero/pilot Kai, who's mostly recognized for his role as Jax Teller in Sons of Anarchy, and the gorgeous Sofia Boutella as the fierce Korra, known for her role as Giselle in the spy action movie Kingsman: The Secret Service. Joining these talented actors will be none other than Djimon Hounsou. The actor will be portraying the role of General Titus. Even though details about his character haven't been revealed yet, Hounsou's an extremely talented actor who's appeared in movies like Blood Diamond alongside Leonardo DiCaprio, and has even starred in MCU movies like Guardians of the Galaxy and Captain Marvel, as well as Shazam and Furious 7. Talk about having an impressive resume. Other than them, we've got Ed Skrein, who'll be playing the infamous tyrant Belisarius in the movie. The actor is famous for his role as Daario Naharis in Game of Thrones, which is enough to tell you he's about to give the best performance of his life. He's also known for playing Ajax in the R-rated film Deadpool. But by far the biggest A-lister celebrity that's part of the cast is two-time Oscar winner Anthony Hopkins. He'll be the voice behind Jimmy, a JC-1435 sentient mechanized robot who was once tasked with protecting a defeated king. If his name doesn't ring a bell, then let me remind you that he's famous for portraying Hannibal Lecter in The Silence of the Lambs. With an impressive cast like this one, everyone's dying to know when it's releasing. I'm guessing Snyder really wanted to get this movie out as soon as possible. Because filming began in April 2022, and everything was wrapped up by December of the same year. Talk about fast service. As for when it's coming out, well, mark your calendars because Rebel Moon will hit Netflix just in time for Christmas in 2023. Just like Army of the Dead, Rebel Moon will also have a limited theatrical release. And with Part 2 already wrapped and ready to go, you definitely don't want to miss the first one. Yep, you heard that right. Part 2's already done and dusted. As I said earlier, Snyder initially wanted it to be one continuous movie. This means that Zack had already thought out everything from the plot to the setting and just needed to execute it. But it also tells you that Netflix is sure about this movie being a huge box office hit, because we all know the streaming giant's love and hate relationship with the number 2, if you know what I mean. For Snyder, this two-parter will possibly be his longest-running film yet, but it also means that Part 1 needs to end at a cliffhanger to set up the events that'll take place in the second part. Don't worry though, because if Snyder is to be believed, Part 2 will be released a little while after the first one, meaning sometime around early 2024, so we won't be dying of suspense for too long. And if that didn't get you excited enough, you'll be blown over the ledge when you find out we're getting a director's cut as well. At this point, we know when Snyder announces a director's cut, it's bound to be epic. According to his own statement, Zack said that the first 2 parts that'll hit screens will be a fantasy that anyone can watch, but the director's cut will be strictly for adults. While no one can predict what he'll do with it, I already know we're in for some intense, super crazy stuff. Speaking of intense, did you know that Hunnam actually broke his back while filming for Rebel Moon? True story. You see, during COVID, Charlie hadn't been training much and had lost a significant amount of weight. On top of that, he made the mistake of jumping straight into a tough regimen for his role as Kai and refused to give himself enough time to rest in between. The actor wanted to get bulky as fast as he could, and in the process, ended up wrecking his back. Hunnam clarified that it was nobody's fault but his own for pushing his body to its breaking point. But this just tells you how dedicated he and the rest of the cast and crew are when it comes to delivering the best. Well, there you have it, folks. From the actor actually breaking his back while preparing for the role, to drooling over the new images released for Kai. This was everything you needed to know about Charlie Hunnam and Rebel Moon.